I learned all about this actually.
Okay, so you were talking a little earlier, about green stimulus and Obama's plans and that. I know before the election, was listening to an NPR interview, and you kind of, said he was saying the right things, but he wasn't. You said, I think the word was, you gave him high marks for understanding, but not high marks for passion. At this point, I mean, what do you think about that? Where are his marks on that?
I think honestly he's gotten more passionate about it. I hear the president-elect talking about green issues, climate change, green stimulus, green investment, with not only more passion but with regularity. So it isn't just for this audience or that audience. Now he's really making it part of every speech, and I'm excited about that. You can already feel the vibes from that. So imagine when he actually does take the oath of office and become president. I think that's something to really look forward to. As I've said before, you just cannot underestimate the power of the bully pulpit of the presidency, and to have a president who will make this part of his set speech, and then all his deputies will feel comfortable doing that, and that will filter down, and you'll see mayors and city council people say, as President Obama says, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for us. And I think we shouldn't underestimate that. I think we're in for a sea change, I hope, and I'm very excited about that.
And do you think he is? I mean, he's talking about energy and infrastructure a lot in all of his economic plans. Is he talking about it in the ways that you want to be talking about it?
It sounds like it. It's not that I'm skeptical that he doesn't intend to do this. It's just I want to see the plans, before I really, announce, pronounce that I one way or another on it. But I have every reason to believe, with people like Carol Brown around him, with the other people that they're talking about, I know for energy and environment positions, those are serious people. They're going to come up with something serious. I'm convinced. And but I want to see it. And my skepticism really isn't about them or their intentions. My skepticism is, what can you do in this incredible, difficult economic time, which is something that really has come upon us very quickly here. And that's really what I'm worried about. And so I'm not worried about their intentions. I'm not worried about their focus, their aspirations. I'm worried about where we are right now and what you can actually do in this environment.
One of the big things in the book, I mean, he talks a lot about the economic part of it, but one of your big things in the book is nationalism, or just the bringing America back and,
right.
and recapturing that. And that's not something that has been talked about as much. I mean, is that?
Yeah, for me, it's much more the hub of what I'm about and other things I've spoke, and I can understand if other people don't see it that way, but maybe I'm a little bit, somebody said this in a review the other day, part of a newer generation who come to the story from a little different angle, more from the angle of national power. And I don't mean national power to go stomping around the world, but national power to build our country up so it can be what it needs to be in the world, and we can pass on in America to the next generation. That's one that will sustain higher standard of living and be a great example in the world. And so I'm quite unapologetic about that. I'm not going to Congress and saying, would it be okay if we plant a couple more trees? I mean, I'm saying this is about our power. I'm in your face about it. I think it's not about just electric power. I think it's about national power, but not power so we can stomp all over the world, but power so we can actually be what we need to be as a country for the world, to lead the way we need to lead, and also to pass on what we need to pass on for the next generation.
And in today's summit, and people are talking a lot about the idea of green recovery and all this investment part of it, but you're also emphasizing the book the need for correcting this market failure that we have, fossil fuels that have,
it drives me nuts when people say, well, we have to have market-based solutions. Okay, let's have a market-based solution. Let's price all the externalities. Let's price the cost of protecting the troops for the oil from the Persian Gulf. Let's price the cost of CO2 in the atmosphere. Let's price that. In that case, coal will be, $15, a kilowatt or whatever, and if we're going to use the market, then let's price everything, but not just solar, wind, and geothermal and biofuels.
And so you floated the idea of a chief energy officer. Other people call it the czar, and there's lots of names that they're floating. I mean, do you think that's something that's going to happen? And what is the important value add of having that as an
I
explicit
think we
focus?
are going to get an energy czar, what I call CEO, Chief Energy Officer. And the value of it is that the problem with our energy policy today is it's broken up in all these different departments. EPA does, air and water quality standards. The transportation does mileage standards. Energy, DOE does, research basically, and certain housing and efficiency standards. FERC does transmission lines, and state regulators do utilities. And if you don't have someone coordinating all of these and kind of trying to tilt them all in the same direction, it'll be very hard to get the revolution we need at the speed, scope, and scale that we need.
You talk a lot about the need to create green jobs here and promoting it as, jobs plan and all that, but you're also, the world is flat is also your other meaning. How do we prevent those jobs that we create here from being exported to India or China like all the other jobs we've seen?
In one sense, the great thing about certain green jobs, the green collar jobs that Van Jones talks about, they can't be exported. You can't get someone in India online to retrofit your home.
What about manufacturing jobs, though?
You can't get someone online to install your solar panels or build wind turbines. So a lot of them, the great thing about those green jobs is they can't be outsourced. But the best green jobs, those at the higher paying ones at the white collar end of the spectrum, the science and innovation ones, those are going to be done through collaboration, just like a microchip. And some of the innovation is going to be done here, and some is going to be done in Shanghai, some is going to be done in Bangalore, some is going to be done in Tokyo. But the important thing about that system, that kind of flat world innovation system, is it should be a player in it, okay? No one is going to own it all, not in this world, because no one's going to have all the brains and all the a competitive advantage to do every part of that innovation cycle. But you want to be in the cycle, and you want to be constantly striving to be at the highest end of that cycle. If you look at the Apple iPod, and if you ever looked at the breakdowns of, who benefits most from the Apple iPod, believe me, the innovators, the marketers, the designers, the people who inspired it, they're making the highest salaries. They're the ones in Silicon Valley, and the other stuff is outsourced out. So you want to make sure you're at the cutting edge of this.
So this idea of green jobs has really caught on. I mean, we heard it from both candidates on the campaign trail. Everybody's talking about it. But how do we prevent that idea from being co-opted by old school industries? I mean, people talk about nuclear is clean jobs, clean coal is clean jobs.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
what needs to be done to keep this really clean?
Vigilance. That's why I'm glad there are sites like Grist around. There's going to be a lot of hot air around a lot of this stuff. And people are quickly going to discover that, as in the age of anti-communism, if you just say it's anti-communist, you'll get, my highway's anti-communist, my school's anti-communist, my rocket is my Jeep, and there's been a lot of that with green. No, this is green. You have to understand. Oh, here's the money, And we need. This is a great task, I think, for mainstream media, but also for the blogosphere, to be exposing this stuff, to keep it honest, and really asking the two questions. One, is it cutting edge? Is it new? Is it real innovation or great jobs? And does it have a climate energy impact that is truly accretive and not just net zero or worse, even negative?
So you mentioned in the book that you want to see the word green phased out is what we're calling all this. Why, and do you think that will happen?
Yeah, well, the goal of a green revolution should be to make the word green go away, because there won't be a green camera. There'll just be a camera, and the standards for building it will be at the absolute highest level of efficiency. There won't be a green car. There'll just be a car. It'll be a plug-in hybrid. There won't be a green building. There'll just be buildings, and they will be built at the highest level of energy efficiency. So the goal is to make green go away.
So my last question, the world is flat. Now it's hot, flat, and crowded. What is it going to be next? What's next?
Hot, flat, crowded, and busted.
Or
I hope.
Or the optimistic side, maybe.
Hot, flat, crowded, and clean. Let's hope for that.